Yeah. Yeah, yo. When I mindstorm or rhyme forms from out of dark clouds, then I jot down deep mysteries about space and the aborigines. Compose symphonies, thoughts of Moses to epiphanies. Caesars, the desert eagles, the weapon for the people. My raps is beauty, so I'ma always be before the E and the A and the U. Jesus, with a bottle of Grey Goose, took off my grave suit. Now I'm reborn, re-strong and reform. You devils be gone, this style belongs to the stained glass medallion. Flames dance around him. Some say he's the same as the Malcolm. Came advanced in volumes, now witness behind the stained glass album.
There's no quiz in the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, there's no quiz in the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, Godzilla's the king of all monsters. Great, you're bonkers, secret space launchers. Boxers and daughters at my concert. I conquer doctors, gangsters, haunter. Dollars and honors, horror hunters, ponder. Prehistoric lobsters and rap rosters, robbers, flying saucers, stronger sponsors, kill imposters. I explode dishwashers, rhymes like armed Navy helicopters over foreign waters. Peace to Cookie Monster, I comatose watchers who don't moniker. Mr. Commodore 64, the monitor auditor, blockbuster, too popular for gossipers. Gobbler of astrologers, omnivore orbiter, gravity softener, explosion vomiter, an astronomer who used a barometer, binocular to kill a biographer. There's no quiz in the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, there's no quiz in the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen.
Shit, pop you with the biscuit, cut you in a brisket, fuck you the misfit, fuck you. You dead, I wish that. Like Kid Twist with the ice pick, jigging you, sticking you sickly, quickly, bitch, cause I ain't digging you. Slit your gutter roll like a butter roll, blood a flood a pool, fuck your slut, nut in a hole. Tortured on mortuary slabs, coronary stabs, extraordinary, the more the merrier, you're inferior. Bury ya, execute you bitch, shoot you in the tits, it's the hoochie coochie man, kicking brutal shit. Recruit the set, cut two pits, playing Salugi with your dick, volcanic like Fuji. Contusions on your skull, rep Brooklyn like a Cougine. Get burned, get beheaded like Nick Bird, get it you herb, human flesh turd, blood red on the curb. My Saturday night special, splatter your brain, send you to the church of the Latter-day Saints of the box, scatter the remains. Open your grill, peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get nothing for death, fucking make your chest on neck, bro. You fuck with me, you fucking with the best. Cut open your grill, peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get nothing for death, fucking make your chest on neck, bro. You fuck with me, you fucking with the best. Body fluid ejaculation, you crack basin, you know the rap. Think before you step, start the back pacing. Fred, Mike, and Jason, a bitch, blast the clip in your face like Berkowitz. Did the Stacy Moskowitz, scare you at your wet. I'm completely rehabilitated, reinvigorated, reassimilated, and relocated sight. Leave you just convolvulated, bob and weave, jab your noggin, fuck up your medulla oblongata, club you like Drago. Evil like Baba Yaga, I'm obligated to whip out my dick. Lady Gaga ate it, she ovulated. I'm not about love, so punk step to me drunk. With disrespect, I'll take a chunk out of your neck, something I could be proud of. A loaded sword off, explode your orifice off. Chuck Norris is off, kid, I glorify gore. Like Boris Karloff, a metal splint in your lung. Regurgitation, inspiration like the Virgin Mary covered in elephant dung. Cut open your grill, peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get nothing but death, fucking make your chest on neck, bro. You fuck with me, you fucking with the best. Cut open your grill, peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get nothing but death, fucking make your chest on neck, bro. You fuck with me. You're total, packed in a bag like a yodel, smash you like Kodo, leave you immobile for acting like a fag Frodo. From the gallows to a shallow catacomb, shoot calicos at your dome, that's how it goes. Hit with the chrome back to your mouth, foam, shatter bones. Say you moan, I'm a known cat, phone a flip, ask around home. With a 12 gauge Shoddy breaking your crib and rage, pull the trigger at your rib cage for a big wage. When the metal's pulled, you getting killed and settled, hit you with a kettlebell, dead in the grill. You better chill. Choke a slut, crack open your coconut, leave it broken, I'm a local nut. Cut your back open and burn you with a smoke pot, like Napoleon Bonaparte, rip every bone apart, blood on the linoleum, dead you like Joan of Arc. Dracula packing a revolver, involve you in an unsolvable attack, whack you like a black dahlia. Peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get none of the death, fucking at your chest, on neck, when you fuck with me, you fucking with the best. Cut open your grill, peel, slice, motherfucker, I'ma carve you up real nice. You get none of the death, fucking at your chest, on neck, when you fuck with me, you fucking with the best.
Floating ass Peruvian flakes, word screws, tank with skills, I drill like platoon leaders. Niggas can beat us from 6 meters. My shit's supreme in structure, putting plugs in rap slugs. In your set, ready to go. Throw the brick at your glass house, watch them out of shadow, my shadow fall from idle raw recital. Yo, battle no cranks like Barnum and Bailey, Mr. Cole's Haley's coming, watch me pop it like a pill. Pulling black beauties and caramel cuties, Dewey and Queens, do me my justice. However, that's another chapter. After MCs, like a bounty, you got a price on your head, I'll make you famous and dead. Brandish my lyrical like my pistol. MCs are red like bloody jam packs, your crew bleeds like demons. Those psychos complaining about the pain that I give. My rap bust up your lungs, break your ribs. I cause the hemorrhage, internal damage, fucking up cerebrums. And chili, I got that witty when the cola blows. My shit dope is blows on Cicero. Text that before you see, I destroy the decoy. All clones get their head blown off when the blowtorch speaks. People listen like the important. We're MCs like bitch with a motherfucking apple between their lips. Yo, sounds ricochet through dome claiming victims. Everything's fake 'cause I'm a fucking inmate. Now make them feel this article might be critical to MC sounding pitiful, but I do not give one fuck. Now it's on when the beat breaks, he break. When my mic generate enough heat to bait, I jack for souls. So throw 'em in the air like you just don't care, and give 'em air while lumber rocks you down. Calm tight, but while in a minute, like what you don't know might hurt ya. I'm Buster, radius of grenade clusters. My mind's feel like a minefield. Time to build, double yield, and feel the force of concentrated steel. We got time to roll that dime. Rhyme shine like summer day, another haze for the pastime. Niggas be swearing they choice when they just moist, talking like they smooth as a Rolls Royce with me in it. Don't be timid and grab no micro. I thought all the shit MCs will put to rest and not go. Break it up, break it in, break it on out, bitch. Yeah, that's how I like it. And when the feeling's right, I never fight it. Check it out, my mic detonates, causing riots. Sounds ricochet through domes, claiming victims. Everything's straight 'cause I'm a fucking inmate.
Now if your spiritual's incapable, hawk, my aerial assault got niggas open like Capone's fork. Thriller, drama, terror, fastball error to your face, point blank, 200 mph from the Lone Star State, sent to make the earthquake, representing wherever, forever. Ginsu, your thing crew, rubber click, be thicker than a first grade pencil, killing each and every nigga for sport. The routine, hard heads ain't clean, know exactly what I mean. It'll see, need I stress this, Texas flexes, born at the harder, I'll bust your young and leave you restless. I hold mics like a hype holds a pipe, renegade a rap, man I slayed ASAP. Tried to tackle me, I stiff on this fucking faculty. The wind, whoosh, it's hectic here. Me and my mics like electric chairs. We go way back like drive-bys and hood highs. Unhappy skill fat, who ain't killed yet? Hear me now, I'm too advanced for youngsters. The Avalanche branch, massive Rottweiler owner and heavenly body boner. Fuck fancy clothes, hoes who up they nose. When the name blows up, baby, you paying for my pose. Word up, Freddie Rodriguez walking clouds in Adidas, counting dead presidents. Nigga, call us if you need us. Please, no media, just throw the spot on the back page. Niggas be acting shady while they ladies lounging backstage. Towns ricochet through domes claiming victims. Everything's straight 'cause I'm a fucking inmate.
Yeah, welcome to The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. I'm a little two-part show here. It's usually divided into 2 parts, right? And basically what we'll be focusing on here is 2 translations of the Tao Te Ching, right? So we've been, taking an extended look at the philosophy of the Tao Te Ching, right? So I'm going to basically go ahead and explain, okay, some of the, historical milieu in which Taoist sort of philosophy thinking had its origin, right? So if you go to if you go to the Chinese Warring States period, right? They had many of the ideas that are coming from the Zhao kings, all right, that influence basically the writings of Confucius, right? So a lot of the Taoist ideas, okay, if you look at Shang Tzu, he's kind of responding to Meng Zi, right? And if you look at Lao Tzu, it seems to be a response, right? Or one of the summations of one of the main Chinese philosophies at the time, right? So we briefly outlined the conflict between Confucianism and Taoism. Okay. And I don't want to say briefly. Okay, we read several of the Analects of Confucius, reflected on their ideas, okay, of filial piety, okay, ritual purity, cultural refinement, okay, goodness attached to division of labor within the society, right? Obviously, Lao Tzu has different ideas about all of those points, right? And how he relates to them. Okay, he seems to be and you could really look at chapter 18 as a sort of extension of this. All right, let me if I could find one of the translations that I have, at least of the Tao Te Ching. All right, I'll go ahead and supply you guys with the interesting verse. Okay. In terms of Taoist attitudes towards Confucianism, and then I'll go ahead and describe some of the texts that we're reading here, right? Okay, because it's all part of the and we don't really have time to really go through the ideas of Confucius right now, right? But we did entire presentations on Confucianism and that whole way of thinking. But if you look at chapter 18, it says, when the great way is abandoned, there are benevolence and righteousness. When wisdom and intelligence come forth, there is great hypocrisy. When the 6 familial relationships are out of balance, there are kind parents and filial children. The state is in turmoil and chaos. There are loyal ministers. So all these ideas, right? Loyal ministers, filial piety, right? Okay. The ideas of ritual perfection, right? If you look at the idea, okay, in Lao Tzu in chapter 38, okay, he rejects the division of labor within the society. He says, truly good people are not aware of their own goodness, right? And are therefore truly good. Okay, so he thinks that there is a such thing as inherent or intrinsic goodness or value. Okay. And obviously, that he does not think it's a product of all of these other things, right? Such as cultural refinement, the goals of the state, right? But he thinks it's to be found. Obviously, Lao Tzu is more about simplicity. Okay, so he's looking at the personal, the value of the person in relation to society, right? And he's also looking at the society in relationship to nature, right? So he's also looking at local communities as the foundation, right? And small communities as foundation, right? So he wants, as he says, man follows the earth follows heaven, okay, and heaven follows the Tao, right? So there's all of these, so there's a natural hierarchy, right? That's not based on the division of labor within society and not based on the rules of either ritual perfection or cultural refinement, right? That are mentioned in Confucianism, right? Let me briefly read chapter 38, and then I'll move forward here with explanation of how or attempted explanation of how Crowley became interested in Chinese philosophy, right? Because it bears explanation, right? And then we'll move into the text of Crowley's translation of the Tao Te Ching, right? And of course he'll be drawing from several of the ideas that I'm going to be mentioning here shortly, right? But let's look at here chapter 38 first, right? Okay, it says those of the highest virtue do not strive for virtue, and so they have it. Those of the lowest virtue never stray from virtue, and so they lack it. Those of the highest virtue practice non-action and never act for ulterior motives. Those of the lowest virtue act, but always have some ulterior motive. Those of the highest benevolence act, but without ulterior motives. Those of the highest righteousness act, but with ulterior motives. Those who are ritually correct act, but if others do not respond, they roll up their sleeves and resort to force. Okay, so he says, when the way was lost, there was virtue, right? Meaning you had to analyze, right, whether people are good or not, right? When virtue was lost, right, when you no longer have confidence in people being good, right, there was benevolence. Right, meaning you have to have rules of engagement, rules of politeness, right? Cultural cues, right? Then he says, when benevolence was lost, there was righteousness, right? Meaning now you have to make rules for how to be good, right? And he says, when righteousness was lost, there were the rights, right? Which are the foundation of Confucianism, right? So you could tell how he feels about Confucian ideals, right? The rights are wearing thin of loyalty and trust, the beginning of chaos. The ability to predict what is to come is the embodiment of the way and the beginning of ignorance. Okay. Okay, the idea of looking to the future, right, to consult or doing it for some future benefit. It says, this is why the most accomplished reside in what is thick and not as what is thin. They reside in what is most substantial, not in mere embellishment. And so they cast off the one and take up the other. All right, now let me talk a little bit about the spread of Chinese philosophy, right, into the West. Okay, and how Western occultists became interested in Chinese philosophy, right? And this happened through a series of events, right? Going as far back as Plato's influence, right, by the Persians, okay, and the spread of Orphic Pythagoreanism, right, into Greece, right, and basically, okay, the spread of the Orphic Pythagorean ideas, right, to the Jews, right, and the influence of Orphic Pythagoreanism on the Gnostics and the Jews, right, during the 2nd century, right, which can be basically seen in the writings of Zosimos, right. He combines Gnostic systems, right, with the ideas of Plato, okay, and and he has he talks about his influence by the Jews, okay, by the Alexandrian Jews, right, and the Neoplatonists, okay, so that spreads. Okay, obviously there's a lot of spread of alchemy, right, throughout the Middle East, okay, and throughout especially throughout Persia, right? So Persia has a central theme, from Zoroastrianism to the birth of alchemy, right? And you could look at the ideas of the Manichaeans and then the Albigensians being influenced by Zoroastrianism, okay, and Gnosticism, right? And basically, okay, you could see it, coming up in all of those ideas of the Christian Kabbalists. Again, obviously we talked about how the Kabbalah was influenced by Neoplatonism, right? So there's lots of ideas there, right? So there's okay, so it's interesting, okay, because the Kabbalah is based on guys like Maimonides, right? So you have these strong influence, okay, on the Western occult by all of these systems, okay, that were proceeding at the time. Okay, and when you look at the writings of Blavatsky, right, she's basically saying that the occult that came from Egypt, okay, because they said that they basically thought that the writings of Hermes Trismegistus were older than those of Moses, right? But she said that there were older systems going back before Egypt, right, in India. Okay, so the occultists, okay, especially like the Thula Society, Blavatsky and all these different people, right? They started to incorporate Eastern mysticism into their practice of occultism, right? And so did some of the Jews, right? The Jews started to incorporate elements of Eastern mysticism into the Kabbalah. Okay, so there was a huge history of all this stuff, right? So by the time we get to Crowley, right, he's studying all of these guys that are, always talking about, the occult, right, and how it was influenced by the Oriental Kabbalah, right? Okay, coming from India, right, and how the Aryans went to India and started the Hindu caste system, and they say this is basically, talked about in the Rig Veda, and the Rig Veda is an alchemical script talking about alchemical transformation of human into God, right? Okay, so we know that the Bhaktivedanta Institute and all these people that were influenced by people like Vivekananda, right? He was already combining Western occultism into Hindu systems, right? Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, right? They were already combining, right? So it goes both ways, right? And we have people like William James, right, who laid down the foundation of things like psychology, right? You could go from William James to Carl Jung. Okay, see the influence of Eastern mysticism. Okay, obviously like William James is quoting like Vivekananda and all this stuff, right? Vivekananda was like a Freemason. Okay, so there's all of these influences, right? Going back and forth between the Western and the Eastern systems of occult, right? And how they're incorporating systems like the Vajrayana, right, into their occultism, right? You have people like Chogyam Trungpa, right, moving to the West, okay, and unveiling systems of Tibetan, Buddhism that are actually based, they're hugely based on shamanistic systems, right? And so is Orphic Pythagoreanism, right? It's based on Mithraism, right? Which is like kind of like when you take Zoroastrianism and you start, injecting a lot of pagan influences into it, right? And it starts becoming like, all these guardian angels and all this stuff, they become part of the alchemical script, right? Okay, so it's all interesting stuff, right? How Crowley got interested in the occult, and I'll talk about some of the ideas of Seraphim Rose as well, and actually, here's this guy right here, right? We'll have him talk about how basically Seraphim Rose got interested in Eastern philosophy.
Right.
Impeccable timing.
Yeah.
Always. Well, he, he had a teacher named Jiming Xing, right? And he was like the leading, scholar on the Tao Te Ching or Lao Tzu in the United States. He was directly taught, and handed down the traditions actually in China. And he came to America. And he was at the same school as what's the guy's name? Alan Watts, right? Well, from what Seraphim Rose says is that Alan Watts was sort of pseudo with his understanding of like these ancient Chinese texts and philosophies and stuff. But Jiming Xing was the real deal, and he did his master thesis on it. It was off the internet for like 15 years, and I ended up finding the master thesis. It's called "Emptiness and Fullness in the Lao Tzu," and that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's what inspired the book, Christ the Eternal Tao. So.
Oh, okay.
Right, the master thesis. Now that master thesis, Jiming Xing did a class, and what he talked about in one of his classes was how Lao Tzu and the Greek philosophers were very similar in their understanding of the logos and the Tao, right? And this inspired him, I think, a great deal to. Go to the original Chinese and study it and pull as much as he could from it. And yeah.
Yeah, because in the sense that the logos is part of creation, but not part of it, in a sense. Like it's more than.
Right. And Lao Tzu uses personal language a lot of times when he's talking about the Tao. It's like, which is kind of odd. I don't know. We can't like fully say that he's seen the Tao as personal, but he definitely uses personal language, which seems to allude to him having some understanding of that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so let's check out this these two text, and we'll read through Crowley first, and then we'll go to Seraphim Rose, Hieromonk. And we'll see what's popping with both of these translations. Of course, we'll play some music in between. So they're pretty. At first they're pretty short chapters. And actually, let me go at the other side of the room and go and grab maybe a regular translation as well, because that might be a good idea to have that around instead of this one that I have is kind of complex, and I don't like working through this one.
They're short chapters, but they're jam packed with so much meaning. It's you have to study to really get to even peer in the depths of the text.
Yeah, and instead of like merging, two opposites, he's trying to collapse two opposites into one cohesive understanding. So, the way Lao Tzu is actually proceeding is like opposite of like sort of dialectical.
I would, how Nietzsche says that he likes to say in a few words what people take books to write. Well, I think Lao Tzu has him beat.
Right. Right, like right, like he's like who really perfected the aphorisms, right? He and that's a thing that Nietzsche is trying to model himself off of the Eastern philosophy. The way he constructs his aphorisms, right? Because the reason is because he's saying that the truth needs to have brevity, right? He's saying all these complex truths, they're hiding things in the complexity. Like they're trying to make excuses for things that are pretty simple, right? So yeah, and obviously Schopenhauer was hugely influenced by Eastern philosophy as well, right? So you have huge influence in German philosophy of the I think Schopenhauer, with him it was the Upanishads, and also Buddhist philosophy. Okay, the idea that suffering is part of life, right? Okay, and obviously Nietzsche was trying to reject that idea. Okay, that was his whole point.
Well, what's his answer to suffering? You think?
will to power, right? Pretty much. Art. Combining art and spirituality. And all that type of stuff. The warrior mentality. All of these things. He saw that as a substitute. Yeah, blessings to all the people. Official spokesman for all whites. I appreciate you. Shadow Buddha. I appreciate you. Yeah, what's going on, cousin? Yeah, what's going on, Mindful? Blessings. NPC, I appreciate you. Lady Luck, yeah, peace be with you. I'm Insurgent, yeah, peace be with you. Brown's boy, Lizard Tree, Ragamuffin, Neutral Ground. Okay, the Panelverse. Okay, I greatly appreciate all you guys for watching. Okay, thank you for being here.
When you get to the other text, I have some material, a lecture that accompanies it that might be interesting to kind of go over a little bit. So I got that ready.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, bring it up anytime. I mean, of course we got these chapters. Obviously, it ends at chapter 81, and then we're gonna switch to Father Seraphim Rose, and we're gonna have a little musical break in between that. So that's how this is gonna go down. So feel free to jump in with whatever you have. A minute blessings. And so 76. Okay, warning against rigidity. Right. Of course, we've talked about all this. Right. The idea of suppleness, water. Okay, plants. Okay, newborn baby, the uncarved block. Okay, and the idea of natural simplicity, right, versus cultural refinement, as we were explaining earlier, right, with the battle between Confucianism and the Tao Te Ching. Right, and of course, this is going to be hugely highlighted. When we move to Shang Tzu, right? Shang Tzu is using Confucius as a character, like kind of like a clown, right? Right, he's using like Meng Zi as like kind of like a clown, right? To prove his point. Right. Okay. So he's using all these, characters that he's trying to say have drawn their influence from Confucianism, right? In order to, like, make jokes, okay, about drawing their logic to the fullest extent, and saying how it doesn't really correspond with nature, right, and all these types of things, right? So let's check this out. A warning against rigidity. At the birth of man, he's elastic and weak, right? Okay, the newborn babe, right? Right. Of course, he uses the example of women. Right. At his death, rigid and unyielding. Okay, this is a common law. Trees also, in their youth, are tender and supple. In their decay, hard and dry. Right. Right. Youth is, whatever is the source of youth is the source of eternal life. Right. It's not the source of something that decays over time. Right. Okay. So he's pointing out that, wherever energy comes from, it comes from an infinite source. Right. It doesn't come from a source that, is subject to decay. Right. So he says this is the common law. Trees also in their youth are tender and supple, and they're decayed, hard and dry, right? Babies and plants. Okay, growth means the ability to have pliability, right? So growth and fecundity, right, are basically opposed to these ideas that you need to replicate things, make the same of everything. Okay, but the idea of change, right? Instead of fecundity, or diversity instead of fecundity, right? And change instead of growth, right? Because growth is internal. Okay, it has to go out from the center, right? Right, whereas change is from the outside influencing in. Right? And fecundity is not the same thing as replicating things.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey, blessings, sir. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Are we discussing an entropic universe versus a stable universe?
Oh yeah, that's part of the.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the discussion. I think that. Yeah.
Just got here.
I think Lao Tzu did not believe in entropy. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not into entropy myself.
Yeah, he seems fundamentally against it. The whole principle of the Tao seems fundamentally against it. I mean, it accepts growth, but not change, and evolution.
Yeah.
In any sort of way. So
I kind of believe in a stable state expanding universe where it fractalizes and then recombines back to a oneness, but it still expands over time. Not even sure about that part, but yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's saying basically like the universe is it has fungibility, but it doesn't decay or evolve. You know what I mean, right? And that fungibility is based on the same thing that plants and babies have. You know what I mean, right? Which makes them appear weak, but they're infinitely they have an infinite amount of energy within them, right? That's responsible for the growth, right?
Yeah, I kind of believe in a finite amount of energy, though. I kind of think that the universe fractalizes, then comes back together. So there's one amount of energy, but it gets added to just by external forces. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Goes along with the Nordic fable of I like this one. It's when fire and ice met, and then they talk about how the gods came from the ice, but the licking process describes the toroidal field creating things or growing the universe in a sense.
Oh yeah, like heat.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need heat for life.
Yeah, the friction. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's interesting is like you think heat is dissipating energy, but it's a source of, an infinite level of growth, right at one end, right? Like an infinite level of complexity at one end, right?
Yeah, if you believe energy cannot be created or destroyed, it always exists.
Oh yeah, that's a fundamental. Yeah, that's a fundamental component. Yeah, that's a fundamental component of this philosophy for sure.
I didn't mean to stop you. Continue.
Oh no. No, definitely. The idea that energy can't be created or destroyed. Like he thinks that there's one consistent source of everything, right? I mean, as he said, I mean, like there's a natural hierarchy, right, between, I mean, man and earth and heaven, right? But above it, I mean, like he says, nature follows the Tao, and then he ends it by saying the Tao follows what is natural, right? So, so it's kind of like a feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think it's a toroidal universe.
Oh yeah.
With yeah.
Us at the center, I'm assuming.
No, I think we're coming at the bottom end because I think we're in an expansion area of the universe. So we're in the magnetic south of the universe, and I don't know how far out we are. But if you look at the models that they have of the universe growth, it matches that of like an expansion outward of the bottom of a torus field, and then we'll eventually end up in the more electric side. We're in the more magnetic side right now, I think, and we'll end up eventually trillions of years over in the more electric side where things are brought together instead of divided apart. It'll be neat. I don't know exactly what's up there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but this idea, I mean, Unseen, feel free to comment on this because he's obviously using the term stigmata in a very provocative way here, right? And obviously he's interjecting this term, right? So he's interjecting.
Right, that's not in the text. I don't know where you got it.
right. So he says, so then rigidity and hardness are the stigmata of death.
Well, I mean, he's right, but I mean, it's like the trees that don't bend always break. It's that kind of idea, right? It's like you have to be, you got to be able to go with the flow, bend, or it's not going to work out too well. You're not going with the Tao, I guess, right?
Yeah, I find as I get older, the best thing you can do is keep moving. Right.
Right. Don't go against the grain.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally, yeah, and spiritually.
Yeah.
Don't kick against the goads.
Yeah, so he's obviously hijacked this term, right? So he says, so then rigidity and hardness are the stigmata of death, elasticity and adaptability of life. He then who put it forth strength is not victorious, even as a strong tree filleth the embrace. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Thus the hard and rigid have the inferior place, the soft and elastic have the superior.
It's like Wu Wei, right? That's what Lao Tzu calls it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, Wei Wu Wei, doing, not doing, right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like active, resistance or restraint. I mean, instead of, kind of like taking a negative stance towards things, but like sort of being open to them, right?
Did you watch that guy Ilya Topuria? He kind of did some lousy stuff in that fight he recently had against that guy. He like left dead space there. It's like the emptiness, the empty space is where he kind of capitalized in a fight. It's that way in life a lot of times. It's like what you don't do matters just as much as what you do sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this this line. He says, if you use what has no thickness to go where there is space, oh, there's plenty of extra room to play about in. This is from Shang Tzu. And he's talking about the butcher who never has to sharpen his blade, right? Because he knows where every sinew of the animal basically is. Right? So just boom, right?
Right. He cuts, with the grain, I guess, right? I don't know what that would be called, but
right. Yeah. So he says the Tao of heaven, is likened to the bending of a bow, right? Whereby the high part is brought down, right? Right. Like when you aim a bow, you have to aim a little higher than the target, right? The low part raised up, right? The extreme is diminished, right? And the middle is increased.
True.
And then he says the way of heaven is to remove excess to supplement insufficiency.
Well, isn't truth like the ancient meaning of truth, like something like the arrow flies straight and true? That's where it comes from.
A lot of our terms seem to come from archery.
Right.
Sin is another one.
Yeah, it's interesting. And he says, I think I read. He says this is the way of heaven to remove excess, to supplement insufficiency. Not so is the way of man, who taketh away from him that hath not, to give to him that hath already excess. All right. Who can employ his own excess to the wheel of all under heaven? Only he that possesseth the down, right? That's the person who knows actual value, right? Is a person who understands how excess can be misused, right? So the wise man acteth without lust of result.
True joy within, really, or truth within.
Right. And compare that.
It's a commodity you can take in both places.
Right.
Yeah, Lao Tzu had a pretty good understanding, and it seems Crowley understands what Lao Tzu means. But a lot what he, at least in his translation, that a lot of the things that enslave us are, desires and passions and these types of things. That where society, I would think, probably sees that as freedom. But is it really free? I don't think so. Right. I think that's his whole. That's why he was sort of an ascetic.
I've seen people on their deathbed clinging to their possessions, and it's sad to see.
Right.
You certainly can't bring it with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Amass a house of amass a house of gold and jade, and no one can protect it. Says Lao Tzu. Those who are bound by desire see only the old container, right? And also, he's talking about the unmediated action, right? Of, like as we talked about before, right? Wei Wu Wei, right? Which is basically not looking for results, right, for what you're doing, and also using what is not there for what is there, right? So not disturbing, trying to disturb the harmony of things to achieve those results, right? So he says,
it's interesting too. Back right before the point you just made there, not to go off track, but there was a monk once who said something like, the pockets of the dead are full of holes, and that all you'll have in the next life is what you gave in this life. or something like that. Crazy, dude.
Right. Yeah, so he says, so the wise man acteth without lust of the result. Right? Achieve it without boasting. Not I'm sorry, achieveth and boasteth not. He willeth not to proclaim his greatness. Okay, a creed, nothing in the world is more elastic and yielding than water. Okay, yet it is preeminent to dissolve things rigid and resistant. Okay, there is nothing which can match it. All men know that the soft overcometh the hard, and the weak conquereth the strong, but none are able to use this law in action. A wise man had said, he that taketh on the burden of a state is a demigod worthy of sacrificial worship.
It's funny.
Right.
What
that's
what
one of
Laozi
Unseen's
actually
favorite lines.
says is
right.
something like he who dies for the sins of the world is king of the world, or something like that, right?
Yeah, it takes on the suffering of the world, right?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, the burden of the state. So he's putting it. He's modernizing it. He's interjecting the state, right? Which is right in a sense.
And demigod, right. State,
right.
demigod, sacrificial worship.
Right.
It's very.
It's Satanized.
Like pigs in the temple or something.
Exactly. Communitarianism.
Right. For sure. He says, and the true king of the people is he that undertaketh the weight of their sorrows. Right. Truth appeareth paradox.
It reminds me of Antiochus or whatever his name is. You know what I'm talking about?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Okay, so Antiochus, he like burnt all these, Talmuds and script, not Talmud, but the scriptures. He burned a bunch of scriptures, and then went into the temple or something. I think the Jewish temple. It's like 200 BC or before Christ, something like that, maybe 100 something, and he like sacrificed a bunch of pigs to idols in the temple or something. I don't know. It's very strange. And they say Daniel, in the book of Daniel, that he prophesied this would happen. And all these scholars were like, well, obviously, how could he have known this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, the text was written later than we think. And then the Dead Sea Scrolls, recently just said, like, the book of Daniel was older than they thought, So they can't explain this, really.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, crazy. Really crazy.
Yeah, and what's weird here is that he's using this special word, covenant, right? Which is obviously a heavily charged biblical term, but it also appears in Hobbes, as we talked about, right? The idea of covenant, right? So look at this. He says, truth and covenant, when enemies are reconciled. And of course, these last chapters, starting from 38, right, in book 2, they're heavily focused on society and politics, right? It seems like before that, Lao Tzu is talking about like metaphysical principles in relationship to the human being, right? And a personal relationship. How personal a relationship with nature, or the simplicity of nature, is basically based on these metaphysical principles of how the Tao functions, right? And then the second book, right, the book of virtue, right? There's a book of Tao and a book of Te, right? Right. So the first part is explaining the groundwork or the foundation of the second book, supposedly, right? In some of the interpretations that scholars have held, right? So again, he's talking about, how the Tao relates to society, right? Or the way of heaven relates to human society, right? Whereas in the other chapters, he's talking about how the principles of the Tao relate to, the human and the personal relationship, it has to the harmony of things, right? Roughly speaking. So he says, when enemies are reconciled, there's always aftermath of ill will, right? How can this be useful? Okay, therefore the wise man, while he keepeth his part of the record of a transaction, doth not insist on its prompt execution, right? So he doesn't, he keeps his side of the bargain, right? But he doesn't look for the other person to return his side of the transaction, right? Okay, he who hath the te, right, or the virtue, right, considereth the situation from all sides, while he who hath it not seeketh only to benefit himself. In the Tao of heaven, there is no distinction of persons in its love, but it is for the true man to claim it. Now, look at this chapter here, and look at what he's recommending, right? A person, okay, or the type of society he recommends, right, that follows the Tao, right? He's finally getting to the type of society, right? And look at what the first word there is: isolation, right? Right? It's not worried about other societies, right? Okay, and how they function and how they live and their ways of life and the food they eat. Yeah, they don't care about that, right? It says, in a little kingdom of a few people, it should be the order that though there were men able to do the work of 10 men or 5 score, they should not be employed. Though the people regarded death as sorrowful, yet they should not wish to go elsewhere. They should have boats and wagons, yet no necessity to travel. Corselets and weapons, yet no occasion to fight. For communication, they should use knotted cords. Right? They should deem their food sweet, their clothes beautiful, their houses, homes, their customs delightful. There should be another state within view, so that its fowls and dogs should be heard. Yet to old age, even to death, the people should hold no traffic with it. Okay, so this is the last chapter here, and it's about not focusing on words, right? Not relying on words, right? Either to make a point as a vessel of authority or more accuracy, right? And not focusing on the beautiful words. Right, that's one of the main
run the clip, maybe.
Can I ask, in the last one, was he promoting isolation?
He's promoting a small or local state, but not necessarily isolation, but sort of like isolation in terms of like blending in.
Okay.
Right, so it's
like
a special type of
being in the world but not of it.
Yeah, like a village. Yeah, exactly, like a small village. Okay. Right, is what he's pointing to. Right.
All right.
Right. That where the people are sort of uneducated, so they don't really know the customs of other people. So
those people seemed historically to last longer and function better. I don't know that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely relates to later developments in Buddhism, right, and all that idea, right, how the Zen philosophers talked about the value of like silence, right, and how that is related to the notion of simplicity. And of course, Shang Tzu talks about words, right, how words are used, right, to make a point, right, I mean, even Zen philosophers talk about that, right? They say like it's a finger pointing to the moon. I mean, if you pay attention to the finger, you're missing, what it's pointing towards, right? So you're looking at, the method instead of, what is the, what it's trying to accomplish, or so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of against isolation. Like, of almost any sort, because I believe that the only way to true enlightenment is through understanding the vicissitudes of life. Somewhat like the Hebrews believe that nobody can be a rabbi until they're married. It's because they don't know what life is like until they understand what it's like to be married and have kids and all that. So I think life is important to experience for enlightenment, the interactions and that type of thing.
I agree. I think that's oftentimes like the difference between, I guess, like a secular worldview and like maybe like like a religious worldview sometimes, but truly really not like following some falsity or something. Like you look at a great saint or something. Those people, they went off what they lived. This wasn't just something they thought about. It's like experience, and we kind of live in an age where experience doesn't matter. It's just like whatever the fact is. We don't live in a world of truth anymore. It's fact. That's unfortunate. Because you don't get truth and live.
Not anymore for their knowledge, but a lot of them are crazy now. So.
Dare I say what Hank says?
Sure.
Truth is a feeling.
Well, definitely, if you divorce feelings from truth, you get less of it. You know what I mean? So I think definitely Lao Tzu would make that point that feelings are included in the truth, right? So if people say that, the truth is divorced of, how a person, relates to their environment, and of course, like women have more emotion, right? And that's kind of part of what makes them simple, right? In a way, they're not really basing everything on reason, right? So I think Lao Tzu kind of is making that point several times.
Well, I think the truth of the matter is that not everything that's true is reasonable.
Right. And that goes right into this this chapter right here, right? He says true speech is not elegant. Elaborate speech is not truth. Right. All right. Totally.
Yeah, I always say truth is subjective. It's your subjective truth that you see as truth. I may have a different truth. We may agree upon truth, but for us to say something's true, we'd all have to agree upon it. So
would you say that there's really no absolute truth?
Well, there are truths in language, I guess. We agree that in an observation, like we generally agree that the sky is blue. We agree on colors, but that's just also a subjective truth,
Yeah, there is a sense of that because, a truth is found in agreement. So if you wanted to make the case that it's subjective, or it goes into, the subjective or the personal or the participatory realm, right? And shift it back to that realm, right? But of course, then you're playing with other ideas, right? Like faith, right? Which is also a personal experience.
Yeah.
And all these ideas, right? So it's so it's interesting.
You know, I had a conversation one time, and I asked somebody that question, like, is there any absolute truth? And they said, no, there is no absolute truth, right? And they made sort of the same point, and it's like it's subjective. We all have our own truth, or in some way. And then I asked them, is that an absolute statement? So that's the conundrum you fall into. If you say there's no absolute truth, then is that an absolute statement? And then,
right.
Is that absolutely true? I don't know. So.
Would not the concept of perception / experience be an absolute truth?
Sure.
I can think of maybe one absolute truth, and that would be that I am.
Isn't that what Socrates said or something?
Yeah, I guess something.
I think, therefore I am, or something.
Yeah, I am. I exist.
That was Descartes, I believe.
Yeah, that's Descartes.
What did Socrates say? I am mortal, I am man. That's what he said.
Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that.
I am mortal, I am man.
I can't even prove that.
I think that's Aristotle, right?
Oh, that maybe it's one of them.
Yeah, he's using
that's like the first.
Yeah, Socrates
that's the idea that led to all logic.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's a little arrogant to presume that, because he doesn't even know we don't even know if we're a man. We could be a simulation, right?
Yeah, it's it's a demonstration of a syllogism. He said Socrates is a man. All men are mortal. Socrates is immortal, right? Is basically
therefore I am man, right? Or something.
Yeah, you could add a fourth one there, right?
I guess so. But it's funny about it is before that time, this was really the beginning of logic, right? And before that time, it'd be like, let's say lightning struck, then everybody would be like, oh, the God of Thunder did that. Well, after that first, I am mortal, I am man. It becomes to things like, oh, well, lightning struck, then it's particles. You know what I mean? Like, and then people started talking about particles. It's no more like the God of Thunder did it. So then,
wonder about that. We interpret it like that, but are we really sure that that's really how they interpret it? It kind of seems like it could be just like the poetic interpretation of the way it's expressed in history.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
I think they were a little more intelligent than that. I don't think they were quite that stupid, honestly.
No, I don't think it was stupid to them at all. I think they seen it. To us in our modern mind, it would seem stupid, right?
It was,
but
more
to them, it was like there's no idea without some form of God involved.
I think there was a balance, though. I think that they both believed in the spiritual and the real. I don't think the logic was expressed as clearly as it was until the Greeks.
Sure, but that's what I'm talking about. Is that when they say
there isn't literally like libraries of lost literature that we have no clue about,
But the stories were written like that for a purpose, because there was the stories where they could be passed down, and then there was the knowledge. Like they used to have the mystery schools where you would take those stories and they would be deciphered, for their esoteric, astrological, and all the other knowledge that they contain.
Well, in a lot of myth, there's what I guess I would call a poetic truth that's actually a lot truer than the letter of the law that we get in a lot of textbooks.
Well, they didn't see it as a myth. They really thought that when the lightning struck, that God did it.
I don't know
God did it.
Yeah, but
I think they believed. I think they understood that there was a scientific process there.
Yeah.
They might have understood it entirely, but I think they understood there was something.
Well, it started developing
logical in place, but they still, but in text, like it was just like maybe it was just like the
best story for explaining the beginning of the universe or the beginning of creation is the Nordic tale of creation, which was when fire met ice and the great cow was created in the Gunganap. And he started licking the ether, and the gods were born. And that is, in those few statements, is the entire scientific construction of the universe.
I see the same thing in the Gnostic creation myth, but I understand what you're saying entirely.
because it contains the positive, negative polarities of our universe. It contains the cow, which represents the torus field, and it contains how the scrubbing or the friction created the gods or material.
Sure. No, I mean, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I see the same thing in the Gnostic creation myth. So
yeah, yeah, that
well,
repeats.
Where do you think they got it from?
Yeah, it all repeats, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of,
everything is
reiteration.
Was it George Lucas always said? How, he was talks about how like the Star Wars things they rhyme, you know, like but history does rhyme, you know, history rhymes with itself constantly. So
well, if you look at those early Gnostic texts, like they would take, you know, a little bit of Judaism and mix it with the, you know, the pagan philosophy and take a little bit of Christianity and whatever else is around that area, and then they sort of came up with their own little ideas. And you have different sects of people that had different types of beliefs as far as I was concerned, you know.
Yeah, they definitely influenced the thoughts of Crowley, and they will be shown to basically have a connection, right, to the development of some of those concepts in Seraphim Rose, because he's basically going off of Guanan, who was hugely influenced of by a lot of those guys I mentioned previously, right?
Well, yeah, his Ghananian aspect is like, you know, staying true to the search for truth. Like, I think that's what he kept as far as Guanan is concerned.
Right.
But,
right. So you have Guanan. I think you have Gurdjieff, Uspensky, and then Alan Watts, right? Of course, he was, he knew Alan Watts, right? So it's interesting, right?
Right. He says he was pseudo. He thought he was like an armchair Buddhist. That's what he calls him.
Right. So he's got an interesting connection to all those guys. In the development of his understanding of all that stuff, and I think that's how he ran into that figure, Ji Min Shing, right? So yeah, it's a very interesting story there. But yeah, so this is the Crowley text, and we're concluding our reading and analysis of it. But he says, "Those who know do not argue. The argumentative are without knowledge. Those who have assimilated are not learned." Right? Those who are gross with learning have not assimilated. Right? The wise man doth not hoard. The more he giveth, the more he hath. The more he watereth, the more is he watered himself. Right? The Tao of heaven is like an arrow, yet it woundeth not. And the wise man in all his works maketh no contention. So check this out. It's not only like the bending of a bow, but it's like the arrow. Right? So it's interesting, right? The comparison between those two ideas, right? But we're going to take a little, musical break, and then we'll go to the rest of this. The rest of the text that we have. Basically, Seraphim Rose, the end of the text, Christ the Eternal Tao, right? From chapter 76 onwards. So yeah, we got Unseen here. So we'll give some good analysis of that for a little bit before we end the episode. Blessings, guys. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
invaded Mars in parachutes. Besides the Colosseum, the scale had defined the attributes. Whispers of space left over from the moment of creation down to the depths of supernovas. A million light years away, the thermometer, much different like our neighbor, the Andromeda. Hydrogen gas cooled down and started forming clusters of stars that we began swarming. Star chemical change, they read it like a clock, and if you could tell time, it's a beautiful thing to watch. By measuring the brightness of a star according to the hydrogen burning in the core, you see the likeness. I am made up of layers, extreme pressure, tectonic activity from such conveyors. A big ball of melted metal, 99% of the planet explored on such a level.
Ignition sequence start. Ignition sequence start. Ignition sequence start.
Dart like a rocket, many miles an hour. Global warming threatening seas for power. Strictly hellfire, the ice caps melt. Oxygen, water, and food for thought is dealt. Space is so vast and like a puck on ice, I glide across the track and never think twice. The little energy goes a long way. Electrically charged, I move so fast, a year is one day. Deep space quest to leave Earth, away from the force that has shaped us all alive since birth. Without hip-hop, I'm like a fish out of water, flapping instead of rapping, and my days are shorter. The absence of sound weakens my muscles. The beauty of the divine art makes me hustle, delivering hailstorms of rap articles, well-planned, detailed, intricate, methodical.
Ignition sequence start. 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 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Commit. Liftoff. We have liftoff. 11:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Come out the way when I bar, boy. Come out the way when I bar, little man. Come out the way when I yo. Come out the way when I bar, boy. Come out the way when I bar, like yo. Come out the way when I bar. Time to test the spirit bomb. Yo, I see them man doing their thing over there. I'm like free this dough. I see a bag of man biting my flow, but them man a remix though. I've got cells all around. You might see me fly over Lee Bridge Road. I came back in the game with a bang, core bars and the deepest flow. Back in the grime scene, man to the planet. Come like the hardest MC on the planet. If Lee on the schedule, man, I have a panic. Man when I tweet, bare crying in the game, just bare essays like a man Hispanic. Said I can't spin till I came in Hispanic. Said I can't spin till I came in spun. Shot with the words, see a man getting lit.
It's loud, take 2 draws and I pass it around. When I touch mic in the dance, security's on the dance floor, just trying to calm things down. When you touch back, I'm like, oh, this clown. None of my niggas are feeling your sound. I'm big in my city and I'm big in your town. Said you're the best, then man, I like how. Man wanna war with the lord of the mic. My man must wanna die. I'ma have to slew 10 guys and remind pussy yo's how I got my stride. I got porn stars that just wanna drink, video girls that just wanna bun. You do videos, girls don't wanna come. Cause in my last video I was looking oh so
in the trap with a press, trap, whip and flex, whip up, brick phone in my right hand, Pyrex in my left, chef off the bomb team, spirit bomb. Let's go. You niggas on a long thing, but I get it gone. In the trap with the press, chap, whip and flex, whip up, brick phone in my right hand, Pyrex in my left, chef up the bomb team, chef it, spirit bomb. You niggas on a long thing, but I get it gone. Let's go. You see how man get lift? You see how man get lift? Step on the set, everything get lift. Choke slam at MC, see how man get lift? You see how man get lift? You see a man get lift. Step on the set, everything get lift. No pay for the tax, still a man get lift.
I don't know these niggas. Matter of fact, check my iPhone registry, you will see I don't phone these niggas. Everybody wants P, but nobody wants to put work in and grow these figures. I went back to the lab with nothing but if and vision. Man didn't listen, I will spin MCs to man sit down pissing. Vision can never be who you were dissing. Fuck that, I ain't coming back with a backpack. I'm a back slapping with one of your snapbacks. One box sleeping on the floor with a bad back. Everybody's rough to the yard, gets ransacked. Got niggas that I couldn't even ask for. Had the whole race swimming on the dance floor. These man don't know about pole and myth.
All right, let me pull this up here. To chapter 76. And it says, it's better to leave alone, said the ancient sage, than to forcibly make attempt to make fool. The hall that is filled with gold and jade is not easy to protect. I just quoted that earlier. Right, it's about simplicity, right? And it's against materialism. That pride in riches and honors must lead to calamity. Even if we have a great abundance of everything, it will always seem to us that we are deprived. We will always be in fear, despondent, agitated, faint-hearted. Every hour full of cares, anxieties, and vain sighting. Until we turn again to the way and raise ourselves to him, as the sunflower never turns and raises itself to the sun. The way is not found by those who seek after signs. Right? Signs are like, and it's like seeking after results instead of what produces those results.
The only sign that I will be given is the sign of Jonah. That's what Christ said. And the reason behind that is that everyone was looking for miracles. And if you look into it, it's not the miracles that would convert someone to Christ. It's something deeper. It's a transformation of the heart, because even magicians can perform miracles. So that's the thought behind it. It's like if you're looking for miracles, your heart's not in the right place, I would say.
You can get miracles from within.
It's a miracle we're alive.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Signs and basically visions, right? And wonders, right? All three are basically those who are bound by desire, right? They only see the results of what's being done and not the inherent value in doing it, right? So they won't perfect what is to be done, right? They'll lose sight of it, right? They're after signs, wonders, visions, siddhis and powers. They're after enlightenment. Yeah.
They have itching ears, right? And
right.
They're easy. It says in the scriptures too. that Satan appears as an angel of light, right? So if you're looking for signs and wonders, it's like if Satan can appear as an angel of light and perform miracles, all the same, then you get carried away by what you think is good or what you think is God, right? That's really not. So,
right.
Spiritual deception.
Yeah, Christ, when he says he's coming back, he says, if they tell you, I paraphrasing here, but if he tells you, someone tells you I'm in the mountains, he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
He says I'm in the valleys, he's lying. So he's not coming back physically, you know.
Well, I don't know. I what he meant by that, and I'm not to be like contrarian with you or something like that.
Sure.
Is that that there will be many people to claim to be Christ, coming out of these different areas, but when he does come, all will know, So he's as far as I understand, is
we agree on
Christianity teaches that he will return, but he's not going to return in the way that these other false Christs will claim.
Yeah, I believe so. We're in total agreement on that. Yeah. I think it's more of a raising of the Christ within.
Well,
could be a reconnection with people. I practice remote viewing, or using your third eye. Maybe it'd be a reconnection.
Or it could be a physical Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Truly Christ resurrected. He's already resurrected, but they say he's going to come back. This time he's going to be the conquering king, not so much the serving servant. So he's coming back to judge, to separate the sheep from the goats.
And Matthew, he comes back with a flaming sword, doesn't he?
Well,
depends on
sometimes the scriptures is like a coil.
Yeah.
It's like
it's different versions of his return.
He returned after death, right? Yeah. After 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the beast, and then he stays for about 40 days, and then when he ascends, all the apostles are there, and the angel says, that same Christ you see ascend, you'll see him coming back down in the same way. The angel tells the apostles that. So, and he also tells that to the Pharisees, if I'm not mistaken. He's like, you'll see the Son of Man at the right hand of the Father coming in the clouds of heaven. So,
a lot of people can, I can take that apart astrologically as well, with the sun, the right hand, and the return. As there's always the Lucifer aspect of it, the sun bearer and the Eastern Star. I don't know why that phrase makes me think of that. But anyway, getting off topic here.
Machine, just making sure, did you get the link I sent you in private chat?
I'll have a look at it.
Yeah, there's no problem. I just want to make sure it came through.
Could I give a little backstory on the text real quick, Machine, shortly?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. Let me finish reading this chapter real quick, and then we'll go ahead and do that. I'll hand it to you there. Blessings. It says the way is not found by those who seek after wonders, although he may manifest wonders, right? The way is not found among those who seek after communion with spirits, right? Although he alone is pure spirit and is adored by spirits, those who seek after signs may behold false signs. Those who seek after wonders may be deceived by lying wonders, right? We talked about all that just now. Yeah, so check this out. He then says, those who seek after communion with spirits may come into contact with dark spirits, hiding under a guise of light. The way is not found by these seekers, but by those who, whether they seek or not, are irresistibly drawn to what is wise and true, to what is simple and pure, to what is childlike, to what is lowly and sad. Sadly beautiful. Yeah, so go ahead, Unseen. Blessings.
So, yeah, that's a beautiful little section there. But
right.
Wow. Okay, so here in Ji Mingxing's transmission of the ancient Chinese tradition, one is struck by how closely this tradition resembles the ancient Greek tradition. In fact, Ji Ming taught that the early Chinese and Greek philosophers were basically alike in their view of the universe. Quote, in the history of ancient China, Father Seraphim once said that there are moments when it is absolutely incredible how the same things happen in Chinese life as it happened in the West, even though there was no outward connection between the two civilizations. And the first of the Greek philosophers, Thales, or I don't, how do you say this? Thales? I don't know.
Yeah, Thales. Yeah.
You said what?
Thales. I've heard it pronounced.
Thales. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Lived about the 6th century BC, and just about the time of Confucius was in China, and the Buddha was in India. It is as though there really was a spirit of the times. One of the first Greek philosophers was Heraclitus. Heraclitus was born in the middle of the 6th century BC. For the riddling character of his writings, he was surnamed the Obscure. Even in antiquity, he based his philosophy on the logos, a Greek word which itself means, quote, word, but which suggests measured, proportion, and pattern. According to one textbook of Greek philosophy, the logos of Heraclitus is the first principle of knowledge. Understanding of the world involves understanding of the structure or pattern of the world, a pattern concealed from the eyes of ordinary men. The logos is also the first principle of existence, the unity of the world. This unity lies beneath the surface, for it is a unity of diverse and conflicting opposites, in whose strife the logos maintains a continual balance. The logos maintains the equilibrium of the universe at every moment. But at the same time that Heraclitus lived in Greece, there lived in China the philosopher Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu wrote the same universal patterns or ordering principle that Heraclitus styled the logos. I do not know its name, Lao Tzu wrote, but I characterize it as the way, or the Tao. The Tao being a symbol basic to Chinese thought as the logos was to the ancient Greek thought. For Lao Tzu, the way was precisely what its adopted name signified, in the ultimate sense of the word, the way, the path, a pattern of heaven, of course, that all things follow. The way is the uncreated cause of all things. It is the way that creates. It is the way that nourishes, develops, cares for, shelters, comforts, protects the creation. These are Lao Tzu's own words, quote, balancing the strife of opposites by itself not contending. As Ji Mingxing taught, Father Seraphim, this Tao of the Lao Tzu is to be identified with the logos of Heraclitus. And the other Greek philosophers. Of the writings of the Heraclitus, only a handful of fragments have come down to us, but from Lao Tzu we have a full 81 chapters of the ancient philosopher's work. One may say that Lao Tzu came to the closest to finding the essence of reality and describing the Tao, or logos, and the Tao Te Ching represents the height of what a human being can know through intuition, through glimpsing the universal principle and pattern of creation. 6 centuries after Heraclitus and Lao Tzu, there lived on the Greek island of Patmos the holy apostle and evangelist John the Theologian. While exiled in a cave on the island, John dictated to his disciple Prochorus what he had received from direct revelation from God, and thus spoke to the world in words that it never thought to hear. In the beginning was the Logos. The Logos was with God, and Logos was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and all things were made by him. And without him was not anything made that was made. And in him was life, and the light was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. And he was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. And the Logos became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. This was the very Logos of which Heraclitus had said that the people had always proved beyond comprehending. This is the very Tao that Lao Tzu had said no one in the world was able to understand. It is not without reason that the sensitive Chinese translators of St. John's Gospel, knowing the Tao meant to the Chinese what Logos meant to the Greeks, had rendered the first sentence of the Gospel to read, "In the beginning was the Tao, and the Tao was with God, and the Tao was God." And later the Tao became flesh and dwelt among us. When the Apostle John wrote his Gospel, he was no doubt aware of the common philosophical symbol in the Greek language of the Logos. But as can be clearly seen by the comparison of the Gospels with the riddles of Heraclitus or writings of other philosophers, when St. John spoke from revelation, he was not merely borrowing from an old term, rather he was transforming it, bringing it into the light of the fullness of the divine knowledge. When he spoke about the Logos, it was no longer in riddles, as from one who had only glimpsed and traces of it in nature. For now the Logos, creator, sustainer, pattern, ordering principle of nature, was made flesh and dwelt among us for the only time in history. So that's a little backstory on, Christ the Eternal Tao, just the basis of the text. The text is a entryway. It was written as an entryway for those coming from Chinese philosophical traditions to maybe have an intro into Orthodox Christianity. And the reason why Father Seraphim Rose actually started looking into orthodoxy or Orthodox Christianity is his study of the Tao Te Ching in its original Chinese language. So he did the same thing when he went to Orthodoxy. He started studying Russian and the scriptures in Slavonic and the early church fathers, and he found a connection between Lao Tzu, the Greek philosophers, and the early saints like Saint Justin Martyr and those like him. And what he discovered, he says, is that truth was no longer just an abstract idea, which he went into Orthodoxy thinking that because he was a follower of Gunan, Rene Gunan, and he came out of it and said that he had met Christ, and the Christ was a person, not Enya, and truth was a person, and the Logos was a person. It wasn't just to be thought about with the mind, which before this he had only thought about Logos in terms of mind, and but now it becomes personal, becomes a reality, and the text is sort of breaking that down. So.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. And yeah, obviously Unseen Warfare is kind of like an expert on the text pretty much. So it is what it is. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. And obviously this whole chapter and the subsequent chapters are going to talk about the inability of words to explain the truth. Right, and how truth has to be contained within the heart. It can't be contained within the mind, right? Because it's simple, undivided. It's based on our relationship to nature, right? And not based on, the complexity of words and symbols and signs, right? So yeah, so he's going to basically get into those ideas, right?
Cool.
And so he goes on to say, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did anybody have anything to say?
No.
Okay, for sure. Then, yeah. So he says, this is chapter 78. There's like 4 more chapters left. He says, the way of heaven, himself being simple and undivided, right? Simple and undivided, right? Wants souls that come to him to be simple and guileless, right? That means without trickery, right? Immune to crafty thinking, right? He reiterates, right? Far removed from all ulterior motive, right? Okay, so again, we're reading the idea about doing things for ulterior motive, right? Remember, we saw that in chapter 38 as well, right? In the previous translation that I read, right? So he says, with unmeddling thought, right? Sincere character, right? Sincerity and simplicity basically go hand in hand, right? Frank and unpremeditated speech, right? So, okay, that's basically what chapter 81 is about, right? Even customary human knowledge with its many notions, deliberations, and subtleties hinders one from entering into primal unified simplicity. The guilelessness, of one's true nature, right? Therefore said the said the ancient sage. Okay, empty yourself of everything. Attain the utmost purity. Let the mind rest at peace. And the way of heaven, when he became flesh, said, right? So he's comparing the ideas of Lao Tzu to the notions that are in the gospel now, right? Let not your heart be troubled, right? Neither let it be afraid, right? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature, right? If then you are not able to do a small a thing as that, why take thought for the rest? The follower of the way thus frees himself from worry, planning, calculation, from slavery to human concepts. Not allowing himself to be carried along by thoughts and images, he establishes himself in a childlike state of mind, right? Okay, becoming an infant, he yet lacks the deficiencies of an infant. Being an adult, he yet lacks the complexities of an adult. Become as a little child once more, said the ancient sage. Right, the way when he became flesh said, unless you are converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. That is into spiritual divine vision.
That's one of the key things that drew me to remote viewing was these particular statements about vision and childlike. Looking at the world with wonder and being as a child when you're remote viewing seems to allow the information to come in better. Where I want to take that to was like remote viewing, and these terms led me to it, which requires us to be silent and listen. And a lot of places don't teach you to be silent and listen.
Yeah, I heard it has to do with, going or tapping into whatever state you were in before you came into existence, right?
Well, it's like, you shut off your ego, right? And you have to be in a state of like childlike wonder, where everything is new. So that way you're just listening for messages coming in. You're not reaching out, you're not looking, they just come to you. And it's almost a meditative state, at least for a few seconds, till the ego comes back. But if you can attain that childlike state of wonder and happiness, that helps as well. Your vision becomes very clear. Your third eye vision. Hi, Reddington.
Yo.
Yeah, definitely. as we said before, you know what I mean? The thing that has, the potential for infinite growth, has, that infinite potential has to come from an infinite source of energy. I mean, it has to correspond to, that elasticity, that suppleness, that incorruptibility, it has to correspond to, a foundation of, in this, right, it would be spirit, right, as he's saying, right, pure spirit, right.
Yeah.
If you have an infinite amount of emptiness, a lot of people do, right? Some people have God-sized holes in their being, I'd say, and I at least had that. I felt like I had that in my life. Something infinite can only fill that space, right? And the conundrum there too is like this access point. I'd say it's like the same idea that Lao Tzu talks about 30 spokes joining a single hub, and in the center space is what moves the wheel. It's that same concept is sort of what we see, and even the Gospels talk about this too. It's like Christ has emptied himself, out to fill the world with this grace, and that's sort of what dying is, and picking up your car, and then it's a in the world we live in, you can die 1,000 deaths. They say a coward dies 1,000 deaths, sort of thing, and there's 1,000 different types of spiritual death you could go through in this life, I think. And this is a different kind of dying. This is a dying to your passions, and it's a lifelong process to get back to the uncarved block, as Lao Tzu would put it, or in an Orthodox context, which is theosis. A return to the state that Adam and Eve were in before the fall. That's really what all this is like, kind of alluding to. The same concepts of emptiness and fullness that we see in the text with Lao Tzu. You can also find that same concept in the Gospels. It's like, and also this idea that the weak conquers the strong. It's like people depend on appearances all the time. It's like we see things like everybody's seeing Christ on a cross, and they're like, yeah, oh, it's a dead man. Well, was he true? He truly died in their eyes. But I've said this to you before. It's like nothing truly dies in the eyes of God. It's only in the eyes of men. Not that he didn't truly die. He did die, but it's for the purpose of resurrection to fill the world with grace. So that appearances can sort of lead you astray. I think that's really what it's all about.
Oh yeah. And yeah, definitely. Yeah, blessings to all the people that are in the chat, that are contributing in the chat. I greatly appreciate you guys. Earl Parker, blessings. Jake, some of the OGs that always watch. Michael, yeah, thank you for watching again. Okay, yeah, okay, okay, yeah, we got Unseen's channel. I think he put other people's channel here. Neurojack's channel, right? Okay, Truther Cop's channel.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, Reddington. I think and they had other people here.
All right, I gotta go, guys. Thanks for the talk. Have a good night.
Yeah, blessings, Max.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah, peace be with you. Yeah, thank you for being here. Yeah, I think Max Link was here too somewhere. Max Vision, right? His channel, right here. So yeah, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate your times. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, Mike, what's going on? Yeah, blessings. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is Christ the Eternal Tao. Okay, so yeah. So it says you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven, that is into the divine vision, wherein as an innocent babe one basks in the simple delight of the simple truth that is above compounded knowledge. Okay, for the secret things, said the way, have been hidden from the wise and prudent, and have been revealed unto babes, the pure in heart, and they alone shall see him as he is. Right? I think that's a line from the gospel. It says, like, it's been hidden from, the wise was shown to infants, right?
The wisdom of the
Matthew
world
10,
is
baby.
foolishness to God, he says,
Yeah.
That's St. Paul and the Corinthians. But yeah, this concept of unless you become like a little child, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven. That's already been brought up. But it's like this idea that which was that way then, 2,000 years ago, that men depended on their own logic and reason all the time to sort of uh, come to conclusions, and it's something what it's not illogical, because that's not what he's saying. It's something above it.
Meta logic.
Right. It's meta above it. It definitely is. And there's this concept in Saint Augustine. If you look into Saint Augustine, there's a story of him at a beach, and there's a child on the beach, and Saint Augustine's sitting there, and he's thinking of all these crazy thoughts about the world and all these questions, and he sees this child, and the child's like filling up a bucket with water, and an angel comes to St. Augustine, and he says, just like basically like this child sitting here trying to fill this bucket up full of water, you can never fill the entire ocean in this small bucket, and he has sort of like an epiphany moment that all these questions he's trying to have answered, it's just he's not capable of, not with his limited, but if at the same time, it doesn't stop the child from filling his bucket full of water. You know what I mean? It's something like that. It's very interesting.
Right. Like, it's because of the simplicity of the way the child looks at the world, it's able to look for truth and not be deluded by the fact that it won't reach ultimate truth.
Exactly.
Right. Oh yeah.
The same thing with Saint Anthony the Great. Saint Anthony the Great's in the desert. He says, he asks God a question. He says, God, why does bad things happen to good people? I don't understand. And God gives him an answer. He says, Anthony, it wouldn't do you any good to know. Focus on what you can, control in some sense, and focus on your salvation. That's what you should focus on, and then eventually you will get those answers. It's, as far as we understand, is like when you do reach the other side in some way, when you do reach that point, then you'll have those answers. And then those people that sort of questioned things and did all this, when they get all, they'll have their answers met, but they won't be able to ask questions. So that's the strange thing. It's like those that don't question will have answers, and those that question are stuck in this unbelief will get the answer but not be able to ask.
Oh yeah, and it comes in, simplifying methods and not seeking after results. Two things that Lao Tzu basically outlines. And he says the essence of the ways, said the ancient sage, is supremely true. Within is the evidence. From the beginning until now, its name has remained. It contains all truth. Okay, so he's going to talk about going beyond names and words and labels, right, and categorizations, right, which the mind seeks to do, right, and not the mind that is part of the primordial essence, right, that he mentions as he mentions the mind, the word, and thoughts.
Right, and the mind is like the father in that instance, almost,
right,
or at least the essence of the Trinity. It could be interpreted that way,
right?
They're not separate, so it's like the essence. We can know the energies, but we don't know that, like in the words of Saint Gregory Palamas. So, yeah, there is a separation between what mind he's talking about there, right? So.
Yeah. So he says, the essence of the way, said the ancient sage, is supremely true. Within is the evidence, and the beginning until now, its name has remained, and it contains all truth. A two-faced person, one who is one thing outwardly and another inwardly, such a one not only lies, but makes his very life a lie. Guile and duplicity sap one's power, engendering cowardice and fear. But the honest and true person, one who is the same outwardly and inwardly, remains unconfused, and thus has boldness without fear. When the way returns, he will come with boldness and with power. For there is no falsehood to be found in him. He has boldness because he is one. He has power because he is not double. He is unconquerable because he cannot be divided. His eye is single. And the light of his eye fills the whole body of his unique eternal being.
There's a verse that says something like, keep thine eyes single, right? And then it also says something about darkness and how great is that darkness, right? I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the reference.
Light is undivided. If your right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. Man cannot serve two masters. Right? So there's a lot of passages that talk about being undivided. Right? House divided cannot stand. Right? So it's talking about this idea of being unified in your will. Okay, and not having stray desires and all this type of stuff, right? And of course that comes with simplicity of desires as well. Right, so he says his eye is single. Right, the light of his eye fills the whole body of his unique eternal being. Right, light is undivided, wholly single, simple, and unconfused. He is therefore wholly true. And not only true, nor yet an embodiment of truth, but truth itself. For he said, I am truth. Right, and so these last two chapters very, much shorter than the previous ones, but they're going to be about the truth, right? Once you go, right, if the truth is not linked to words, then what is the truth, right? Right, what is it based in, right? It's based on simplicity and purity, right? Then we have some understanding of what it could be based on, right? But that purity and simplicity, right, points to, right? An infinite resource, right? Of eternal life, right? Of eternal fulfillment, right? As he says, the way is hidden and without name, said the ancient sage, right? So you got to go way beyond words, right? Yet it alone supports all things and brings them to fulfillment. When the way comes to a child hurting, afraid, unknowing, the child becomes a man deep, strong, and wise. When the way comes to a man jaded and stained, the man becomes a child, innocent and pure. In the way, there's a reversal, a circle of return, that each thing may become whole and complete in itself, and each person a universe. Okay, now this famous terminology from Paul, right? Right in chapter 81. He says, one who sees all ways as having equal truth will find his life not long enough to follow the way to the end.
What is that from?
Oh, what I'm reading?
What you just said.
Yeah, chapter 81 here. Is this on the screen? What?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Christ the Eternal Tao here, chapter 81.
I was confused because I thought you said it's something about Paul, so I thought you were referring to the Gospels for a second.
Oh no, I'm talking about the bridge groom stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that appears later here, right? The bridge groom.
But that's like a comment on almost like ecumenism. It seems like, you know, like,
right. It sure is. Yeah, it sure is. Like a straight up line, right? Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it says, one cannot be simple and guileless, and that's actually contained within the statement that the one is undivided and unified, and the way is, undivided, unified and one, right? Right. So yeah. So it says one cannot be simple and guileless, free of multiple deliberations, right? One will be as a person having many lovers, right? Occupied with each, yet given wholly to none. One will not be married to the way, right?
a spiritual hoe.
Right. Right. And you'll remain outside of the bridal chamber. To be married to the way is to belong wholly to him. To belong wholly to him is to have him belong wholly to you. It is only then that he can finish his work inside you. So this is describing this personal relationship, right? It is only then that he can carry you to his end where there shall never be separation from him, the sole bridge groom, right? So there it is, right? Finally, the unified state of being, right? The return of primordial essence, right? And oneness, right?
Primal stillness, perhaps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Pretty interesting series of, considerations from Lao Tzu, even in, through the modern lens of interpretation. Right?
Yeah.
It's been a fair journey, I'd say.
Oh yeah, a journey that has not ended. We will be starting with Shangzu, right? Looking at some historical information on Shangzu, and then proceeding with looking at the thoughts of Shangzu in relation to his expansion of Taoist thought and philosophy, right? So yeah,
I got a master thesis on Shangzu that you might be interested in.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, if anybody has any quick, questions or, this is the end of the show. So if you have a quick question, you can come up and ask the question. Okay, so I've put the link there in the chat, right? But yeah, would you guys like to say anything? To close out this this stream here. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Shadow, blessings. Oh yeah, Chris, you there? I know Chris has family and stuff. He's probably busy.
I'm here, guys.
Oh yeah, yeah, blessings.
Any other person?
Yeah, would you like to say anything? Yeah, to close out the stream. I mean, feel free.
Yeah, guys, I'm good. I enjoyed being here. I actually paying attention the whole time. I just tend not to speak unless I really something I feel like it's insightful enough to bother interjecting. So.
Oh yeah, you're always insightful, Chris. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate your time. Of course.
I'm trying to be around more. I've had a bad couple last few months. So.
Same here. Yeah, same here. Yeah, we should definitely talk about it. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hit me up on Discord, man. Seriously, that link I sent you, the song I've been working on. It's weirdly the only reason I sent it tonight was because it was weirdly connected to everything you were going over in your little talk tonight, and it was weirdly connected. And that's the only reason I sent it to Neuro yesterday. And I hadn't really showed it to anybody yet. It was the only people I've showed it to, and I was gonna show it to you eventually, but I gotta show it to you now.
A lecture.
Yeah, awesome.
Given by Hiram Damascene, right?
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of this guy, but he's who sort of worked on that book. But anyway, he does a lecture, and he asks, he's asked a bunch of questions about the book, and he gives some really interesting answers. And I don't know, it's an option for you if you want to do a follow up on it, or I'll do a show on it. I don't know, we'll do something with it if you want. But it's worth reviewing.
Oh yeah.
And that master thesis, so it could be like a follow up to this, kind of like some extra material that's involved with it, and I have as I said, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who has this stuff. Like Ji-Ming Shin's writings, so he's got a couple writings on the Tao, and now these aren't have nothing to do with Orthodox Christianity, but it's more straight Taoist philosophy, so it's pretty interesting. He's got a text on etymology, and then he's got another text on Lao Tzu, and a few other things. So it's pretty good. So,
oh yeah,
if you want, next time you come back, we'll do that if you want.
Yeah, definitely. We're taking a lengthy look at the Shang Tzu, so we'll be on the subject of Taoism for another, possibly months. But I think it'll only be like a month and a half, most likely. So yeah, if you guys have
it's a lengthy subject. I've read it. I read it last years ago, but it's really good material.
Yeah, we've now looked at 6 different translations, and it's fostered tons of discussions. So the feedback and some of the just the feedback of some of the lines alone, people have been surprised by some of the things that Lao Tzu said, for sure. And the force of some of those one-liners and some of his sort of declarative statements that he makes are pretty interesting, because there's very little proof and reasoning that he gives or is able to give within 81 short poems, but it's inspired lots of people, as we've seen, to build influence the development of their philosophical views, right? So so it's very interesting. Yeah, not a light subject for sure. Yeah. As I've demonstrated.
it's good material though. I mean, I said I read it years ago, and I don't know, it wasn't the exact translation, I don't think, but it was close. I recognized a lot of the stuff, and I realized whenever you were going through it that it influenced, kind of subconsciously influenced this stuff I've been working on. I didn't realize it was influenced by that until I was looking at it, it's holy crap, it's this is just like the song I was working on. So it's crazy. Anyway, I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thank you for the track, and I mean, I'll definitely give it a listen, and yeah, blessings to Chris, and thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, and one more thing, Machine. I thought about this. There's a student, is an older man of Jiming Shing that he was one of his students, and he's got a lecture that's on the web archive that I found, and that'd be something interesting to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what he does is he reviews the Tao Te Ching through ancient like the Chinese symbols, and so he talks about how the Chinese letters are all like metaphors, and there's a deeper meaning to in the original translation that doesn't come across, I don't think, in a lot of the other translations, because it's really symbolism,
right. Yeah.
And there's something about too that it's not a text. The Tao Te Ching isn't a text, I guess, from what Jiming said, that somebody can read themselves and be taught it. You have to be taught by someone. You get what I'm saying? Like the sage has to teach you it, So there's this guy who has kind of acquired it from the sage, and he can sort of give us it. So that's kind of interesting. I'll send you that. So
yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, please, send me all this, and yeah, definitely, secondary sources and all that type of stuff on the Tao Te Ching. Everybody's welcome to bring, what you have or your reflections, and Shang Tzu's going to mention some of the major principles there that that Lao Tzu talks about too. So yeah, anything else from you guys? Red, any of you guys? Chris, Unseen Blessings.
Nothing for me. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and as always, man.
I appreciate you so much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you, brother.
All right, and later, Red. You guys take it easy.
Easy. Yeah, peace, my friend. Yeah.
All right, man. Later.
Yeah, peace, brother. All right, Red, you got anything for these guys?
Learning produces tools, technology, and this is a source of great concern for the well-run society. Tools alter and disrupt both the social and natural orders. As tools become more highly refined, the state becomes more unstable and more vulnerable. It enters a darkened time, a condition of benightenment.
Oh yeah.
The more 57? The more sharpened the tools the people have, the more benighted the state.
Yeah.
It's a little excerpt from Skrbina.
Yeah, that little chapter 57 there. It's no joke. I mean, yeah, one of those translations had technique in it.
Nice.
I resonate with it. I resonate with that passage a lot. That's a good passage.
I think it's like one of the only passages that actually mentions benightenment instead of enlightenment.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting
concept. The polarization of opposites, I guess.
Right. It's like a collective withdrawal from truth and meaning and all these things. Blessings. Chapter 57 of the Tao Te Ching, right? So yeah, actually I read that's the only chapter where I read like 10 different translations of it. I mean, on the show, right? Yeah, we did a special actual segment where I just did chapter 57 and looked at that in grave detail. So yeah, So yeah, Chris, anything else? That's all I have, guys. Yeah, thank you.
All I got, guys. Good night, guys.
Yeah, blessings. Good night.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah, peace, everyone. Yeah, peace, friends. All right. See you guys tomorrow, 9:15. We're gonna be talking about the relevance of that chapter 57, right? The benightenment of the state and its relationship to tools and technology, right? So yeah, huge stuff here. Thank you for joining us here on the Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And you can't kill what you can't see. And the first step to blinding somebody is getting them to open their eyes. What most people think is real is flickering shadows on a screen, right? Images of things that aren't even real. Okay, so yeah, blessings to all the people. And I greatly appreciate your time. Okay, and see you guys tomorrow for all the people that want to return. Okay, we're going to continue our discussions on Taoism, but we're also going to look at Jacques Ellul. Okay, we're going to have a discussion on transhumanism. Okay, and Uncle Teddy. And obviously we're reading a work by we're reading several works, right? But yeah, we're obviously reading Technological Society, Technological Slavery, right? We're going to be opening up the Shang Tzu, right? We're looking at the works of George Orwell, Road to Wigan Pier, right? And obviously we're reflecting on the ideas of Henryk Skolimowski, right? So all of that's coming up, okay, on this week, right? Blessings.
Military military tragedy Gaddafi black Medine military got these devils petrified got these devils petrified military military got these devils petrified got these devils petrified tragedy Gaddafi black Medine was military ghetto apostle soundtracks to the streets 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 military prophetic lines, scratch that, I spit that another time. Fast forward the paradigm, hip-hop's a love of mine. Predetermined to die like Sandy Hook and Columbine. I'm just trying to block out all the noises, like the news is poisonous, cause it destroys us. Controlled by the very corporations that employ us. Assassinate the characters of those who try to warn us. Magnify the personal problems of us performers. That's called misdirection. On a global level, take the minds off the problem that affect us. Next comes some affair or scandal. Really, it's a shambles, so you can't focus on a real vandal. They feminize the game down. Everybody's gay now. To buy for me, my line's still apocryphy for those down. 3 years state bound, locked up but out now. From a lost child of Sebastian that we all found.
There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I do not see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all truth. because it is so unlike all that I have seen.
Mind over matter, manifestation of great minds. So much pain in my life, at times I hated mine, but the past built character for Adam and shine. Maybe I'm just similar to semi-autos when they bust. No justice is just us in this world of lust, crushed by the past, resurrected at last. Time will move fast for those who move slow, show and prove though. Life is a blessing if knowledge of man grows. Religion is confinement, my alignment is like stars laying in the galaxy on consignment. Far as rap go, illness intellectual flow, you know, like a Rosicrucian, my lines produce solutions. Comedic sciences, esoteric alliances can tell you what the future hold. I did it on Illuminati, Mahdi, say wisdom of Gandhi, buried in Palestine, Asia Minor where you find me.
It transcends the senses, but it is possible to reason out the existence of God to a limited extent. Even in ordinary affairs, we know that people do not know who rules or why and how he rules. And yet they know.
I let niggas like you call me uncle before the meat wagon comes and scrapes them up. Nigga! If you got any guts, you make a move so I can mop the floor up with your ass.
I go take you to a place you say you never been there before. I own you now. No, I have to go. I go take you to a place you say you never been there before. I own you now. No, I have to go.
Copacabana, cut your tongue off a katana. The warmonger wearing Bodhidharma body armor. Son of Ravana, Ashwatthama Maharata. Parama, Brahman, Supreme Rasta. Practice extreme prana, samsara, this is nirvana. Buddha Vakana from Tathagata Garbha. My forefathers conscious like Vianas. You don't even understand what I'm saying, be honest. Lightning bolt, Vajrayana, Thunderbolt, Obama. With B.A. Baracus in a black tomahawk chopper. Mr. T doing the cha-cha. Dressed like Zulu shakas, eating green eggs, Hassan salsa. You know you wearing bootleg when the logo is too big. When the tag says made in Manolo, Jesus crib. Matte Black AR. ACOGs and K-bars. We make duck sauce out of Gog and Magog. The airborne flippers with meteorite zippers. Tell a skipper to use his helio light dimmers. You know you ain't in the right business. You like to spit, I like to listen. We like hyenas babysitting some kittens. I swoop down like a winged griffin and pitch him. Leave his limbs missing, 30 ass feet like city pigeons.
I go take you to a place you say you never been there before. I own you now. No, I have to go. I go take you to a place you say you never been there before. I own you now. No, I have to go.
Yeah, I promise piranhas, minor marijuana farmer, white widow, spider lighter, plantain clips for llamas, atomic, Verlander slider, shell providers, catch comet, cigarello, spell, cumulus climber, spit shiner, uterus, finder, secluded survivor, diva, scuba diver, combined with urban MacGyver, rhymer, matte black clouds on top of my family opera. My mood is chupacabra, sprinkled with ocean liners, in St. Lucia water, screws loose and hardest armor, the constant garden mixed with George Carver, Pearl Harbors, swirl diamonds in my verse, train of thought robbers, chisel chopper chapters, Montego Bay climates, visible monuments inside the sound, acknowledge it, Kevlar halos, when I rise, we go polycan, meanwhile demolishing, disembowelment, slit your college and hologram, disappear like hollow man, sharpen pen, drill darts through his cardigan, autograph a camel toe, marvelous artisan, casual to the cannon, blow harvest my sonogram, there'll never be another like me, you probably R.E.M. You hate to admit you feeling it like a phantom limb, no plaques but I planted platinum whip, Jesus feet not one of the kings, sacrilege.
few. Niggas started cloning me, the outcome. Everybody cast souls in me. They put the nails in my palms, they crucify me. Since then I'm dragging my wings, they crucify me. I came amongst my own, but they denied me. I exiled and prayed for the Almighty to guide me. He cleared the path before me, constantly tried me. When adversaries multiplied, he stood beside me. Shredded his hands in the desert like I was Moses. It purges my sin from within till my scripture closes. And everywhere I turn for help, he shut the gate. He made the road narrow and long and sealed my fate. I understand now why I didn't give up the ghost. He severely chastises the ones he loves most. Two sets of footprints in the sand became one. God's discipline is crucifying to his chosen son. Please watch over me, Lord, so many hate me. Stretch forth your hands, don't let this life take me. I've been feeling all the angels on me lately. I know you ain't carry me this far to forsake me. Please watch over me, Lord, so many hate me. Stretch forth your hands, don't let this life take me. I've been feeling all the angels on me lately. I know you ain't carry me this far to forsake me. Allah took me out the game cause he spared my breath. The industry know who I am, that's why they scared to death. I don't be fastening my cross to the ground in 94 to crucify me beside Tupac Shakur. But it was you when I was weak who helped me do the impossible. It was you who gave me strength when I faced my greatest obstacle. It was you who has anointed the wing of the Elohim. And it was you who has appointed your servant to be the king. And it was you who makes me soar with the wings of perseverance. And it was you who made me like it to your image and your appearance. Like on the scriptures, I hit you with rain. The darkness will develop the picture, the frame of it all. Bodies and spirits, the mixes the same. Switch the elixir, the script of a plane. See it before it happened. I'm like a spirit trapping, trying to adapt. I see the angels when the clouds blacken, trapped in the life of sin. You know my halo's slanted, but you still watch over my life and I don't take it for granted. When did you utter your voice and I ignore you, Father? Please don't tell me back at the gate when I stand before you. Cause of you, I beat the trial for them vows in 89. And cause of you, I open my eyes every day that I am alive. Because of you, I'm able to see the prophecies and all the signs. Because of you, your words are written deep in my heart and my mind. Because of you, there were no more bullets when he pulled the trigger. And it was you who made the gun jam when I got robbed by the niggas. Because of you, I had the chance to live and be a father figure. And because of you, I met the wizard and I started with the grave diggers. Lord, I can't see. And the flood is so high, got me on my knees. When I'm judged, when I die, have mercy on me. Watch over me, Heavenly Father. Like the flood out my eye, Lord, I can't see. And the flood is so high, got me on my knees. When I'm judged, when I die, have mercy on me. Watch over me, Heavenly Father. From the buildings where hip-hop prophecy was fulfilled. And after years of sin and praise, he wiped the tears of his children. Young and last was visited by Jubil. They gave birth to the one that was sent to save Israel. A bright star guided me through the dark. Walking through Red Hook projects, it led me to Coffee Park. That's where my eyes beheld the piano safe. Upon the children of Israel, the Lord had bestowed his faith. Red Hook houses was like Nazareth. Me and my brothers Rashad came to offer him gifts. Fed the multitudes with 2 techniques and 5 mics. He made me one of his disciples. Hip-hop's the Christ when he was tempted on the mountain. In offered blacks and gold. All the folks prophets kneel down and sold their souls. Since 96, the unconscious, the foul. And he was being hunted by Herod and Pontius Pilate.
solid. He raised the dead and performed many miracles. Healed the sick and the blind and made mortal men spiritual. Because of his science songs, hymns in his psalms. Roman labels, cast stones, bank nails in his palms. They turned the whole industry into Golgotha, crucifying the Israelites with the highest chakra. Judas handed him over, the kiss of betrayal. For 30 pieces of silver, he betrayed Israel. I watched the birth of hip-hop, and I witnessed the crucifixion. Thug angels gave wings to bring forth the ascension. Divine intervention. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified.
Hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Hip-hop, my art, religion goes deeper than cars and women. We reaching the Armageddon, so ringing the alarm. The village stranded, we wonder with Alice. Trap seeking guns for the answers, ashes for blunts in the canvas. Very for numbing the madness. The same cycle is practically touching the cactus. There's no point for the tragedy, suffering, sadness. Lips hardly move like Arthur, you and the army troops get severed. The only update is the weather on the news, that's outrageous. Constant car bombs from Al-Qaeda and Arslan simply honk the horn in the town shaking. Devilish type moves, bush motors with elephant rifles. You should have voted now for America's Idol. The fat lady watching singing death is the title. If you don't wake up, the day's coming. I read it in Bibles. Time to face God, repent. All I see is constant sin in this apocalypse. Scientologists' accomplishments. It's obvious what the bottom line of this journey for. To carry on tradition and wisdom in early storms. Protected by alignment. We're hopping from hot rockets, surviving and giving the truth. Mission accomplished.
Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Look up.
Look up. Look up. Look up.
Hey, I'm focused, man. Good looking on this one. Plug that money machine up, daddy. Yo, the machine man. Rings and partners. The screen man. The machine man. The machine man. The man. Hey, yo, I got a lot of fam who got the nine to bail. Blue trial, went up north, got the nine to bail. With no chances for parole, they gon' die in jail. They respect the street code, rather die than tell. COs walking it through, got supply in jail. Still a gateman in the bins, got the clientele. Controlling the yard bar, the niggas buy and sell. Step on the toes of yard father, you gon' die yourself. Niggas will see the Lord before they see the board. I made sure I sent flicks and new kicks. Every time I toured, wifey scared bitch, she denying all collect calls. At my fans trust them banging niggas in the mess hall. It's for my 23 and 1 fam. With no human contact, I hardly see in the sun fam. I be right here when everybody turn me back again to keep the commissary maxed out and send me packages. Try to keep my money machine counting, hit the fan behind the wall with long stretches in and out. And you stay serving them, supplying the junk and put aside. So for bail, man, they keep the jury out. And try to keep my money machine counting, hit the fan behind the wall with long stretches in and out. And you stay serving them, supplying the junk and put aside. So for bail, man, they keep the jury out. When our family come home from their biz, we take them shopping. Hit the barber shop and take them strip club hopping. Throw them a release party, man, we get it up.
Is a bit misleading. In the beginning, the Lord said to himself, "Get lost, man." And he disappeared from sight and became all of us. The quest for liberation, the quest for deliverance from thinking that you are just you, and realizing after all who you are. We are all entranced, we are all spellbound, under the influence of a certain kind of thinking, which makes us just like hypnotized chickens with their noses to a white chalk line, and they can't get off. So in the same way, that white chalk line corresponds to the ego. Each one of us thinks, I am I. We've been told so. We've been educated that way from childhood. So we think, I am I. Not this I that we think we are, but the I which is everything.
Break away. We'll be back in a few minutes and lots more.
Radio.
50 cents.
Thank you for tuning in.
Every 3 seconds, someone's identity is stolen.
Worry, fear, afraid to live, worry, fear.
Identity theft protection.
Call now.
1-800-666.
Fear. 50 cents.
buried on the battlefield. Buried on the battlefield, located near Israel. The rest of my platoon was trapped upon a hill. I heard mega real, be real. I was buried on the battlefield. I heard mega bombs, firearms, and war alarms, hand grenades, man rage and evil ways. My destination was to seek life. I mean, stars were so low, they appeared as street lights. I was shown the crucifixion by two Egyptians with war in heaven. I saw Christ with a Mac 11, so I joined his army and prepared for Armageddon. Armageddon, 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 Armageddon. Slowly taking me into the mental orgasms, ejaculating, stimulating, relating to life, incubating, rotating around light beams. From a light beam, I was formed in a white dream, and then redeemed like powder out of my maker, into nature, returned the vapor, killer, priest, was born in the pillar of yeast, lost in the miscarriage, the automatic for marriage.